There was a time when almost every person on Earth knew one name: Nokia. If you owned a mobile phone in the late 1990s or early 2000s, chances are, it was a Nokia. The company controlled nearly half of the global mobile phone market. Its phones were famous for their incredible durability, long battery life, and simple design. Experts believed Nokia was untouchable. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. A company that once dominated the technology world lost billions of dollars, surrendered its throne, and became one of the biggest business case studies in modern history. How did the world's largest phone maker fall so quickly? Was it bad luck? Poor leadership? Or one decision that changed everything? This is the incredible true story of Nokia, the company that connected the world, and then lost it. When people hear the name Nokia, they immediately think of mobile phones. But surprisingly, Nokia wasn't born as a technology company. Its story began more than 160 years ago. In 1865, a Finnish mining engineer named Fredrik Idestam founded a small paper mill on the banks of the Nokianverta River in southern Finland. At the time, Finland was still part of the Russian Empire, and paper was in high demand across Europe. The business grew quickly thanks to the region's vast forests and abundant water resources. A few years later, Idestam opened a second mill near the town of Nokia, the place that would eventually give the company its famous name. For decades, Nokia had nothing to do with electronics. The company produced paper, rubber boots, tires, industrial cables, and electrical equipment. As the years passed, Nokia expanded into more industries, becoming one of Finland's most important companies. Then came a turning point. In the 1960s, the company began investing in electronics and telecommunications. At first, it developed military communication systems, radio equipment, and telephone exchange technology. While most people had never heard of Nokia outside Finland, the company was quietly building the expertise that would shape its future. During the 1980s, mobile communication was still in its infancy. Phones were bulky, expensive, and used mainly by businesses. But Nokia's engineers saw something others didn't. They believed that one day, every ordinary person would carry a mobile phone. It was a bold vision. And it was about to change the world. By the early 1990s, the world was changing. Mobile phones were no longer just expensive tools for business executives. They were becoming smaller, smarter, and more affordable. Nokia saw this shift before almost anyone else. In 1992, the company made a bold decision that would define its future. Instead of spreading its resources across dozens of industries, Nokia decided to focus almost entirely on telecommunications. It was a risky move. But it proved to be one of the smartest business decisions in the company's history. Under the leadership of CEO Jorma Ollila, Nokia invested heavily in mobile phone technology, digital GSM networks, and user-friendly designs. While many competitors focused on complicated features, Nokia focused on what customers really wanted. Simple menus. Reliable performance. Long battery life. And phones that could survive almost anything. Soon, Nokia released a series of devices that became global icons. The Nokia 2110 introduced the famous Nokia ringtone that millions of people still recognize today. Then came the legendary Nokia 3210, followed by the Nokia 3310, a phone that became famous for its incredible durability. It could survive drops, rain, and accidents that would destroy most modern smartphones. People joked that the phone was indestructible. But behind the jokes was a powerful truth. Customers trusted Nokia. By 1998, Nokia had officially become the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer, surpassing Motorola. Its phones were sold in more than 120 countries, connecting millions of people who were using mobile technology for the very first time. The company wasn't just making phones. It was changing the way the world communicated. By the early 2000s, Nokia wasn't just leading the mobile phone industry. It was the mobile phone industry. Walk through the streets of London, New York, Tokyo, Dubai, or Mumbai, and chances were that the phone in someone's pocket carried the Nokia logo. The company had achieved something no competitor had ever done. At its peak, Nokia controlled nearly 40% of the global mobile phone market. Almost 1 out of every 2 mobile phones sold in the world was made by Nokia. Its success wasn't based on just one product. It had a phone for everyone. Affordable models for students. Reliable business phones for professionals. Stylish devices for young people. And premium models packed with advanced features for technology enthusiasts. Perhaps the most legendary of them all was the Nokia 3310. Known for its incredible durability, long battery life, and the addictive game Snake 2, it became one of the best-selling mobile phones in history, with more than 120 million units sold worldwide. But Nokia's influence went far beyond hardware. The company invested billions in research and development, helping shape the future of mobile communications. Its engineers played a key role in advancing GSM technology, making mobile networks faster, more reliable, and accessible across the globe. Financially, Nokia was unstoppable. Its profits reached record highs. Its stock price soared. The company employed tens of thousands of people and became one of Finland's greatest economic success stories. Many experts believed Nokia's dominance would last for decades. To the world, the company looked invincible. But while Nokia celebrated its success, a quiet revolution was beginning thousands of miles away. A revolution that would change the technology industry forever. On January 9, 2007, the technology world witnessed a moment that would change history forever. At the Macworld conference in San Francisco, a man dressed in his signature black turtleneck walked onto the stage. His name was Steve Jobs. Holding a sleek glass device in his hand, he smiled and said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." Asterisk. At first, many people, including executives at Nokia, weren't impressed. The iPhone had no physical keyboard. It was expensive. Its battery couldn't be removed. Some believed it would appeal only to a small group of customers. After all, Nokia was selling hundreds of millions of phones every year. Why should they worry? But what Nokia underestimated wasn't the hardware. It was the software. The iPhone wasn't just another mobile phone. It was a pocket-sized computer. Its large multi-touch display, smooth interface, and internet-first design completely changed what people expected from a smartphone. Just 1 year later, another challenge appeared. Google introduced Android, giving phone manufacturers a modern smartphone operating system that could compete with Apple's iOS. While competitors embraced the future, Nokia stayed committed to its aging Symbian operating system. Symbian had been designed for an earlier generation of phones. As smartphones became faster and more powerful, it struggled to keep up. Applications were difficult to develop. The interface felt outdated. Customers wanted touchscreens, app stores, and seamless internet experiences. Nokia was still focused on improving yesterday's technology. The company that had once predicted the future was now falling behind it. By the time Nokia realized how quickly the market was changing, its competitors had already taken the lead. The race for the smartphone era had begun. And for the first time in years, Nokia was no longer in first place. From the outside, Nokia still looked like a global giant. Millions of phones were being sold every month. Its logo remained one of the most recognized in the world. But behind the scenes, the company was struggling. Engineers knew that Symbian was becoming outdated, but replacing it wasn't easy. Years of software development had made the operating system incredibly complex. Even small changes could take months to complete. Different teams inside the company often disagreed about the future. Some wanted to continue improving Symbian. Others believed Nokia needed a completely new operating system. While these internal debates continued, Apple and Android manufacturers were moving at incredible speed. Every year brought faster phones, better cameras, smoother software, and thousands of new apps. Consumers were no longer buying a phone just to make calls or send text messages. They were buying an entire digital experience. App stores became the heart of the smartphone industry. Developers rushed to create applications for iPhone and Android. But many ignored Symbian because it was difficult to build software for and had a shrinking user base. Nokia's biggest strength had always been its hardware. Now, hardware alone was no longer enough. The real battle had shifted to software and ecosystems. By 2010, Nokia's global market share was falling rapidly. Samsung's Android phones were growing faster than anyone expected. Apple continued to dominate the premium smartphone market. For the first time in more than a decade, Nokia was no longer setting the pace of the industry. It was trying to catch up. And in the world of technology, catching up is often much harder than staying ahead. The company that had once connected billions of people was now facing the greatest crisis in its history. By 2011, Nokia was running out of time. Its smartphone sales were falling. Apple was dominating the premium market. Samsung had become the world's fastest-growing smartphone manufacturer. The company needed a bold solution. In February 2011, Nokia's new CEO, Stephen Elop, made one of the most controversial decisions in the company's history. Instead of adopting Android like many competitors, Nokia announced a strategic partnership with Microsoft. From that moment on, Nokia's future would depend on Windows Phone. The decision shocked the technology industry. Supporters believed Windows Phone offered a fresh, modern design that could compete with Apple and Android. Critics argued that Nokia had chosen the wrong ecosystem. Developers were already building millions of apps for iOS and Android. Very few were interested in creating apps for Windows Phone. Despite launching beautifully designed devices like the Lumia series. With excellent cameras, colorful designs, and smooth performance, customers were reluctant to switch. The biggest problem wasn't the phones. It was the ecosystem. People wanted access to their favorite apps, services, and games. Without them, even great hardware struggled to succeed. Losses continued to grow. Then, in September 2013, Microsoft announced it would acquire Nokia's mobile phone business in a deal worth approximately Euro 5.44 billion, about US $7.2 billion at the time. For many, it felt like the end of an era. The company that had once ruled the mobile phone industry was selling the very business that had made it famous. When the acquisition was completed in 2014, thousands of Nokia employees became part of Microsoft. It marked one of the most significant turning points in technology history. The king of mobile phones had officially stepped down from the throne. For many people, Nokia's story ended the day it sold its mobile phone business. But that wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. While the world remembered Nokia as a phone company, the company quietly returned to its roots, building the technology that powers global communication. Instead of competing in the crowded smartphone market, Nokia focused on something much bigger. The invisible networks that connect billions of people every single day. The company invested heavily in 5G technology, cloud networking, cybersecurity, fiber optic infrastructure, and telecommunications equipment. Today, many of the world's largest mobile operators rely on Nokia's technology to keep their networks running. Every time someone makes a phone call, streams a video, or connects to a high-speed mobile network, there's a chance that Nokia's equipment is working behind the scenes. Meanwhile, the Nokia name returned to smartphones through HMD Global, a Finnish company that licensed the Nokia brand for consumer devices. Although these phones never regained the dominance of the early 2000s, they reminded millions of people of a brand they had trusted for decades. Nokia was no longer the king of mobile phones. But it had transformed into something different. A global technology company helping build the future of communication. Its story proved that even after one of the biggest declines in business history, reinvention is possible. Sometimes, survival isn't about returning to the past. It's about finding a new purpose. Nokia's story is more than the rise and fall of a mobile phone company. It is one of the greatest business lessons of the modern age. For years, Nokia did almost everything right. It built reliable products. It earned the trust of millions. It became one of the world's most valuable technology companies. Yet, in just a few years, it lost the position that once seemed impossible to challenge. Why? Because success can sometimes become the biggest obstacle to innovation. When a company dominates a market for too long, it's easy to believe that customers will always choose what's familiar. But technology never stands still. Consumer expectations change. New competitors appear. And the companies that adapt the fastest often become the new leaders. Nokia didn't fail because its engineers lacked talent. It didn't fail because its phones were poorly made. In fact, many of its devices were among the best of their time. Its greatest challenge was responding quickly enough to a world that was changing faster than anyone expected. Today, Nokia continues to play an important role in global telecommunications. Its equipment powers networks across the world, and its innovations help shape the future of 5G and beyond. Although it no longer dominates the smartphone market, its influence on the history of communication can never be erased. Every modern smartphone exists because companies like Nokia helped make mobile technology part of everyday life. Its legacy lives on, not in the phones we carry, but in the connected world it helped create. Nokia's journey reminds us of a timeless truth. No matter how successful you become, innovation can never stop. Because in technology, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. Once, Nokia connected the world. It survived world wars, economic crises, and more than a century of change. It transformed from a small paper mill in Finland into the world's largest mobile phone company. Then, it faced a challenge it never expected. Not a lack of innovation, but a failure to adapt quickly enough. Today, Nokia's story is studied in universities, discussed in boardrooms, and remembered by millions of people who once carried one of its phones in their pockets. It reminds us that no company is too big to fail. And no success lasts forever unless you're willing to reinvent yourself. If you enjoyed this documentary, let us know in the comments. Do you think Nokia could have remained the world's #1 smartphone company if it had adopted Android earlier? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more premium documentaries about history, technology, business empires, and the stories that changed the world. Thanks for watching.